James Turner for the untouchable true school sports. Let's go, baby. Bow!
Be careful what you wish for because it can become a reality.
Yeah. The Untouchable True School Sports Empire proudly presents something the boxing games are missing. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT. I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. All right, guys, we got some movement in the middleweight division. I can't believe it's happening. It might be a full moon outside. Haley's Comet might be coming outside because this does not happen often, guys. We've been waiting, we've been begging, we've been pleading, and we've been ever so patient waiting for a middleweight unification fight, and god dang it, we got it. Y'all can say the date. It's going to be a momentous occasion because December the 6th on the undercard of Lamont Roach versus Pitbull Cruz, which by the way is a very stacked card. I'll talk more about that in tomorrow's live. But we're gonna have a middleweight unification fight. You're gonna have Janibek, Janibek, IBF champion, WBO champion, putting his belts on the line, stepping up to the plate and fighting fellow middleweight champion, WBA champion, Erislandy Lara, a 3-belt unification fight. And let's talk about this fight. What this fight means for the middleweight division, what this fight means for boxing moving forward, and what the aftermath of all this could be. Because we know that Terence Crawford, fresh off his victory against Canelo Alvarez, he's spoken about potentially going to middleweight, making a middleweight title run, trying to become a 6th division champion. And listen, Terence Crawford, if there's one thing we've learned over the years, is that he thinks big. And, he believes in himself. If I don't believe in him, if you don't believe in him, he believes in himself. So I think Terence Crawford might try to become a 4-time undisputed champion and a 6th division champion overall. So by these two guys fighting each other, it's going to solidify somebody as a 3-belt champion, meaning that the WBC champion, Carlos Adames, he's sitting there just waiting for a big fight, and that fight could come in the form of Terence Crawford, which, by the way, Adames and Terence Crawford have history with each other. They've sparred before, so there's some familiarity there, and I think that's a good fight. I think it's a good fight. I don't think... Now, Turkey loves Terence Crawford, so I'm sure Turkey will pay Terence Crawford, but I don't know. It's not going to be as big of a fight as Canelo was. So could there be a letdown for Crawford? Crawford has been boxing's most consistent performer over the last decade or so. We'll see, but that right there looks like a very possible option. The winner of this fight becomes 3-belt champion. Crawford fights Adames. The winner of that fights the winner of this for the opportunity to become the undisputed middleweight champion of the world. So really big stuff going on in the division. Now, as far as this fight, let's take some time to break down this fight down. Very good fight. You got two very highly skillful southpaws. On one hand, you got Erislandy Lara, a very good fighter. A fighter that I think he's a good fighter. He's definitely a good fighter, but I think people kind of inflate how good he is. If I'm being honest, I think he's gotten way too much credit for losing to Canelo Alvarez over the years, but nonetheless a good fighter. This Lara now does not have the legs he did when he fought Canelo, or even when he fought Jarrett Hurd or Castaño or any of those guys back in the day. This is a Lara now that plants his feet more. He sits in the pocket. He actually is involved in more exciting fights these days. But the thing with Lara is he hasn't really fought anybody worth a damn in quite some time, if we're being honest, which is where most of my indifference towards him comes from. Whenever anybody brings up Lara's name, I'm kind of like, who cares? Like, he doesn't really fight anyone. We barely ever see him. That's kind of how I feel about him. Not saying he's not a good fighter, but you tell me, who was the last legitimate fighter he fought that was any good, like at the top level? He fought Michael Zarafa, fringe level guy. Danny Garcia, not a middleweight. Gary O'Sullivan, lower level guy. Thomas Lamana, lower level guy. Greg Vendetti, club show fighter. Roland Alvarez, Canelo Alvarez reject. Brian Castaño, probably since this is Lara's first high level actual top opponent since Brian Castaño, and that was all the way back in the faithful year of 2019. So you're talking about Lara hasn't fought nobody worth a damn since pre-COVID. That's how long it's been. It's been a long time. So, he obviously knows how to fight, but he hasn't really been at this level in a long time, even though he's been champion. He's been guided very, very carefully, very, very strategically by PBC and Luis de Cubas and the fine folks that push the buttons in his career. So that's on one side. The other side, we got Janibek. Now, Janibek, he's been a guy that's been very unlucky. He hasn't been able to get those big fights against the likes of, Andrade or Munguia when he was in position to fight those guys. And this division really kind of it sucks. That's probably the worst division in boxing. That the fact that Lara versus Janibek is a big fight tells you that this division is not where it needs to be. But nonetheless, he's finally in a big fight, I guess, against a guy with a name. Because if you just look at Janibek's last, four or five fights. He fought Denzel Bentley in what was perceived to be a cherry pick. Got all he could handle, right? Won a close fight there. Stephen Butler, overmatched. Gutierrez, one of the worst champions in years. Janibek Alimkhanuly, severely overmatched. And then the last guy he fought, he's all right. So this is probably the first guy this level he's ever fought. So good for him. And I think, obviously you give him the edge with him having the fresher legs, being the bigger puncher. Janibek isn't just a guy that has knockout power. He's a high-level boxer. He was a top amateur for Kazakhstan, and he's been chomping at the bit for some years now to get this fight, to get a fight like this. And I think, if he wants to really solidify himself as the middleweight champion of the world, the real middleweight king, then it's imperative that he goes ahead and he wins this fight, because this would be his 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It'd be a 6th world title fight, 6th potential defense of the title, chance to become a 3-time champion. He wins this fight. You're talking about Janibek potentially being in a position to fight a guy like a Terence Crawford. Because if Crawford fights Adames and he beats Adames, which I'm sure people are going to make him the favorite, even though Adames is a good fighter, Janibek could go from being a guy that's looked at to be, a good fighter who most people don't know his name, to now a marquee name in the sport, getting a real marquee name, a fight with Terence Crawford. So a couple of dominoes got to fall. He's got to win. Crawford's got to fight Adames. He's got to win. But, it's not crazy to think. And then, selfishly, I'm going to tell you guys my thing. My favorite middleweight is none of these guys. I don't care about Janibek. I don't care about Lara. I don't care about Crawford. My guy is Ian Green, one of the top contenders in the world. Roy Jones is training him now. My boy Elliott from Nova Sports managing him now. He's one of the top contenders. I believe he's top 10 in the WBA. I think the winner of this fight is going to vacate and the belts are going to go vacant. So I'm looking at my boy Ian Green fighting for a world title probably, I'm going to say, by late 2026, maybe early 2027. Fingers crossed. I think he'll be in position. I think Elliott will do the right thing. I think Roy Jones will get him right. I think he'll win the fight he needs to win. So I'm happy for him. But nonetheless, good fight for Janibek and Lara. I'll tell you this, speaking positively, I think Lara, one thing we've seen in the past with Janibek is Janibek, when he fought Bentley had a lot of success when he took the fight to Janibek, when he got in the pocket and didn't let Janibek stay on the end of those punches. You understand? Lara's got a good boxing acumen. He's not going to sacrifice his balance to overshoot on a combination or reach. His legs aren't what they used to be. So I think we could expect Lara to fight in the pocket a bit more, which is why I think he's going to be a little safer. So good, if he went, Lara's 42. We know these Cubans' age isn't always accurate. They're not always accurate. So if Lara wins this fight, I'll tell you this. One thing about Lara is, for all the hype and fanfare he does get from a lot of people in the boxing community, if we're just going by wins and losses, he really hasn't beaten he didn't beat Jarrett Hurd. He lost Jarrett Hurd. He didn't beat Castaño. He didn't actually beat Canelo on paper. He didn't beat Paul Williams. He didn't beat Vadas Martirosyan. If you look at it as strictly just wins and losses, his career has always lacked that one true signature win. And here we have Lara at the age of 42 getting his opportunity to get a signature win against a guy like Janibek, who people regard highly, and it was easily, I would say right now, amongst the champions, the best middleweight in the world. So to do that at 42, I think this is the kind of win where I don't think it's going to put Lara on the Hall of Fame, but I think it'll really enhance his legacy and take him to another level. So and look, if Lara beats Janibek and Crawford fights, Adames beats him, you might even get Lara versus Crawford. So I mean, hey, the possibilities of middleweight are now endless, and I think the worst division in boxing is going to get better in going into 2026. So what do you guys think? December 6th, Janibek versus Lara, 3-belt unification. Terence Crawford moving it down to 160, possibly. Ian Green fighting for a world title probably in the next 18 months. I think so. And yeah, it's all happy days. So what do you guys think in the comments? Leave your comments down below. Make sure you guys take the time to subscribe. And like I say in every single one of these videos, you can love me or you can hate me, But I'm just a kid from Daniel. So until next time, take care, guys. Thank you for watching another video on the untouchable True School Sports Empire. For more great boxing content just like this, make sure you guys stay tuned and subscribe. You won't be disappointed.